Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 196 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. It is now September 3rd. I'm Nick Kalev, as always, from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, is Gus. Actually, why am I blanking? You're in Nokomis, Florida right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm closer. I'm closer to you. Yeah, I'm not that far away. I'm just a nine, I guess, 10, almost 10, 11 hours driving.
yeah, or about an hour and a half plane flight, which is what I did
Yeah,
last time I came down there to visit you. But,
yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's just normally in the big majority of the time in my beautiful Americana, which by the way, last week I forgot to mention it celebrated 150 years of the foundation. So uh, glad to see my city, hit this milestone. And but here I am in beautiful Florida, enjoying some nice weather and also some sports because September is all about football.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And there's so much football to talk about. A lot happened in week one, and we got to start off with what we saw in in Atlanta with our volunteers as we had to take on the Syracuse Orange there in the Chick-fil-A Aflac Kickoff Classic. And we really don't know what to expect here in week one. Joey Aguilar, new quarterback, a lot of new faces on this team, but they came out, got a 17-0 lead in the first quarter, and they never looked back. They won 45-26 and an impressive week one win over Syracuse. Covered the spread. They were only 13.5 point favorites and ended up winning by 19. Gus, what were kind of your takeaways here from this opening win? Heupel now 5-0 in season opening games.
I feel like I was expecting a little bit more from Syracuse, especially in the first half. I feel like they were kind of lost. Their head coach fell was like all over the place. So there was a moment ESPN captured him. He didn't look confident, and I feel definitely all eyes on this game was in one person, Joey Aguilar. I feel like everybody was focused on him, how he's going to perform, and he did okay. I think the first half he did better, but I think he did. You know, every everybody probably left Mercedes-Benz Stadium feeling okay. He earned the trust, but this Saturday's game definitely he's gonna need to do a little bit better because I feel like the true first test only gonna come by late September.
Right. Well, not even late September. It's going to be here in about 10 days from now when Georgia comes rolling up to
Yeah,
Neal. So I guess I'll start off with Joey, how I felt about him. And definitely we had a film study a couple of weeks ago, right before the season began, looking at his mechanics, and they weren't that impressive at Appalachian State with our friend Jason Warwick. However, I will say this: I thought overall he played pretty well. Now there still were some instances where maybe a screen was missed by Aguilar, an easy throw was missed, but overall, right, like the most encouraging thing is one, that beautiful deep ball to Braylon Staley there in the second quarter, just an absolutely gorgeous ball that he threw. And obviously, that's been one of the big criticisms of the past couple of years for Joey Aguilar and Nico is that they couldn't consistently hit the deep ball. So if we can see more of those, that
I mean the last quarterback that was truly a deep ball was Joe Milton.
right. Well, I mean, I'm talking about consistently. I mean, Hendon was way better at throwing deep balls than Milton was in terms of throwing them accurately. Now I know Milton had a stronger arm, but a strong arm doesn't mean anything if you can't accurately hit your wide receiver.
Yeah.
So Joey Aguilar, I'm not saying he's Hendon Hooker. I don't think he is as good as Hendon Hooker. Like that would be a crazy thing to claim after one game, especially since we haven't seen him play against an SEC opponent yet. And that's when we will know how good Joey Aguilar actually is in this offense. But I didn't think I'm encouraged by is the offense seemed to move much faster, guys. We were actually snapping the ball every 7 to 8 seconds again. It felt like having Hendon Hooker back under center again. Because with Nico, we were not able to move that fast last year. The offense felt slow. It felt kind of stale. It had me questioning whether or not this offense was getting figured out, whether or not it was outdated. And now, after seeing this one game, I'm beginning to lean more towards perhaps it was the limitations of the quarterback more than limitations of the offensive scheme. Because, this offense looked amazing with Hendon Hooker. And clearly, it's a very quarterback-dependent offense, whether or not you have someone that can consistently hit their passes accurately. Because we know we can run. We ran the ball for 250 yards in this game, and we look like we have three very solid running backs in Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, and Star Thomas. They all looked really good in this game. They all ran hard with passion. Our blocking looked really, really good. Run and pass blocking both. Even without David Sanders Jr. up front, he was out with an injury. They looked really, really good. And granted, it's Syracuse, and they physically outclassed them. So I don't know if that will translate when they play Georgia here in 10 days. But I liked what I saw from all those units. And when the offensive line is playing this well, when you have three running backs that can play well, giving you a solid tailback at all times, that takes pressure off of Joey Aguilar and that allows him to cook. But I'll tell you, the 2 touchdowns there in the second half were incredibly impressive. Him rolling out and hitting Star Thomas on the left side of the end zone there on the run, very impressive to me. And then that last touchdown he had in the fourth quarter where he had a man in his face and was able to find Miles Kitselman in the back of the end zone. That, to me, is massive. And it's very exciting that he's able to make plays like that because I just felt like you didn't see plays like that last year. Because our last quarterback, it felt like all he could do was throw if he had time. And his first read was open. And it seems like Joey Aguilar could actually process. And that is very important for perhaps elevating the offense.
What I like about Joey Aguilar, from what I saw, it really felt he was blessed to be there. ESPN kept showing the path he took to be a Tennessee quarterback. And it's mind-blowing. It wasn't like Nico that was, practically a red carpet, from the number one prospect, QB in California, to be a starting, to be in the rookie that practically started a bowl game. The year 2 was the starter. He took a really different path, going from City College to Appalachian State to transfer to UCLA, then taking a completely different route, to be a starter at Tennessee. So I like that he has this chip on his shoulder and he really looks mature.
Oh, he really does. Think about it. He's several years older than Nico. So you can tell there's a difference of maturity there. And as you mentioned, he knows the opportunity. This is his shot at major football. Because if he plays well this year, then he may get a shot next year in the NFL somewhere to make it on a roster. Like this is a shot. And you can tell that he's going to go out there and try to take full advantage of it. Now, that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be great. I don't expect him to be great, but I think he's going to be someone that a lot of Tennessee fans are going to end up appreciating because of the effort, the moxie. Basically what we didn't see last year with the guy we had. And obviously we'll talk a little bit later about how he looked in his game. But, kind of focusing here on the Vols, they have this saying, the FEB, F everybody else. And that I think is after Heupel went up after that spring game in April, it was like, look, no one is bigger than the power team. No one is bigger than this program. I think that has become a galvanizer for this season, has become a rallying call for this season. And right now, Tennessee has full program buy-in, even if the roster isn't the best, because the roster is not the best in the country. It's not close to what Ohio State and Texas have. It's probably not as good as Georgia's right now. But this is a culture. This is a team that's going to fight hard and it's going to compete. And it's a team that I think is going to be worthy of us rooting for. Because last year I felt like we had a ton of talent, but they were heavily frustrating to watch. And I spent a lot of last year very angry with what I felt like was a severe underperformance of Tennessee. But this year, in a weird way, I almost feel like I'm going to, even if we have a worse record, I'm going to enjoy this year more because I can tell there's a lot more heart here. And
It's just funny, in sports all over the world, from college football in America to soccer in lower divisions in Brazil, is always about expectations and delivered. What do you expect and what is been delivered? Because as you point out, last year, even though Tennessee made the playoffs for the first time since 1998, this team practically achieved really good. If it didn't feel like overcoming, or didn't feel like this team was delivering what fans expected, was as you point out, even sometimes it felt this team was underperforming.
oh, for sure. I mean, severe overperformance, especially when you go a whole month without scoring in the first half. Like that stretch of Arkansas, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky. I mean, that just infuriated me beyond all belief. Like, I couldn't believe just how bad we started off each and every single game. And looking back at that, I really honestly think it had a lot to do with Nico. I mean, like, considering that we came out in this game and scored 17 in the first quarter, we had 31 at halftime. I'm sitting there watching this game, Gus. I'm like, oh my God, we can score in the first half. It's a miracle, And it seems to me that it was a quarterback issue, 100%. And thankfully, I think we have won the trade here, at least after week one. It seems like we have gotten the better player. Now, I will say, in terms of things that do concern me from this game, a lot of it is defense. But I will say this. I do think that a lot of the problems here in defense are injury related, right? Don't have Jermar McCoy. You lose Ricky Gibson to injury. And it looks like he's going to be out for a while. Like, we're probably going to have to play Georgia without Ricky Gibson or Jermar McCoy, which is very unfortunate. Now, Colton Hood, at least, a cornerback we got from Colorado, he looked awesome. Had a return touchdown, was very, very good in coverage, was very impressive. Our linebackers look really, really good. Arian Carter seems to be the leader of this team, the alpha dog. If you saw his video, Gus, on the Vol football Twitter, getting the team hyped up, that looks like a leader, an absolute stud. Him and Jeremiah Telander next to each other. Going to be really good there in the middle. Joshua Josephs is an absolute menace up front. Unfortunately, we lost Jackson Moore to injury. That's not good. Hopefully, he'll be back soon. And Heupel seems to think that he might be back after this week, but you just don't know. And clearly, with who's coming next weekend, you want to be as healthy as possible. And clearly, in Syracuse, to their credit, and to Fran Brown, they're a very good offensive team. Last year, they had the quarterback with the most passing yards of any quarterback in college football in Kyle McCord. And honestly, like Angeli and those receivers, like especially Jonte Cook, that dude is really, really good. And their running back, Yassine, he was really good as well. Like, I think Syracuse is a solid team. Their schedule is pretty difficult, but I think they'll win probably 7 to 8 games. I think they were better than NC State was last year, or Virginia the year before that. They were more comparable to the Pittsburgh teams that we played in the first 2 years under Heupel. Maybe not as good as those Pittsburgh teams. Remember, that first one won the ACC. And, I mean, Heupel almost beat that team that won the ACC. And, of course, Kenny Pickett absolutely lit us up, which is hilarious saying that because we're all like, oh, Kenny Pickett sucks. But, I mean, he was good in college. So, but I think Syracuse was close to those Pittsburgh teams. the hype will play in the first 2 years.
Yeah, but I was gonna make another comparison. First game of the season last year was against Chattanooga Mocs, and the first half Tennessee dominated. So I guess it's not that I don't want to, be optimistic. It's just,
Well, I mean, I think you have to compare it more to the NC State game.
yeah, that's
We
true.
were only up 20-3 at halftime against NC State in that game. You got to remember, one of the touchdowns there was the pick six from Will Brooks on Grayson McCall. We only had one offensive touchdown against NC State in that game. So the offense, to me, seems like it's a lot better this year, a lot more efficient. So I'm very encouraged with what I saw because I think the Syracuse team is better than NC State was last year.
Okay, let's compare. So in terms of stats, so Nico had 16 completions, Joey Aguilar 16. Comparing Nico in the NC State game versus Joey Aguilar at the Syracuse game, right? ACC
Correct.
opponents,
Correct.
double-digit win, so in terms of both had 16 completions. Joey Aguilar had 28 attempts. Nico 23. Nico had 211 yards. Joey Aguilar 247 yards. But Nico had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Joey Aguilar had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Bingo. And that's the big one right there. No interceptions. It is absolutely massive, considering that Joey Aguilar has his fair number of interceptions from his time at Appalachian State. But one of the things I was kind of hopeful for in the offseason, and I hope week 1 bears this out to be true, is that at Appalachian State, Joey Aguilar had to be a hero. He had to play hero ball. And here at Tennessee, I don't think he has to do that with the receivers that we have, with really solid line play. Like, he's never played with this type of talent before. And I think it shows.
Yeah, it really shows. And Hypo. Oh, we have viewers?
Yes, we do have viewers coming in and out of the TikTok here.
Oh, appreciate it. In YouTube, we have Emilia Camargo. My grandma is watching in Americana. Shout out also people on Facebook.
Yeah, my coworker Lillian Yee from News 12 says, I don't know what you were talking about, but I support you, with the laughing emoji. Shout out to Lillian. Awesome. Our weekend anchor and reporter.
Where is she in the picture? I saw you guys had the Spirits picture. The everybody wears
in it because she was out last week. So yeah. But in any case, thank you, Lillian, for watching and listening to the podcast. We're talking about the Vols starting off 1-0 and comparing Joey Aguilar to Nico Emalava. Yes, I know Joey had 5 more incompletions. It's like Lillian says, it's sports. You'll never see me in those.
Never say never.
Exactly.
Especially in journalism. You don't know why your career turns, but nevertheless.
She says, oh my geez, go Vols. I do like them.
Oh, okay. There it is.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Go Big Orange.
Good.
Mascot. It's a good answer. Actually, one of my friends, she says, okay, I'm done now, lol. One of my friends who's in Michigan now, apparently their janitor has a blue tick coonhound in Michigan.
Ooh.
Was literally because apparently he is from Tennessee and has a blue tick coonhound named Rocky. It looks exactly like Smokey. I would love to have a blue tick coonhound one day. But there are a ton of maintenance, and you got to have a lot of outdoor land, because otherwise those dogs go stir crazy. But in any case, back on the football team, I just think that Aguilar, he runs the offense smoother. He's a lot more effective in the pass game. And I think it's going to translate into the SEC play to an extent. Lillian says, people stand up for touchdowns. I stand up for the dog running 5 feet. Fair enough. Hey, the Westminster Dog Show is coming up soon. So,
Already? I thought those were in like January.
oh, you know what? I feel like I'm mistaken. There's a dog show that's on like Thanksgiving, right?
Oh yeah, I know. And also, there's one dog shows on Super Bowl weekend.
You're right.
Oh
You're
no,
right.
that's the cat one. That's the cat one.
Well,
The dog one. The dog one is on Thanksgiving. That's true.
right. Well, I mean, I know it's on, but I don't watch it because I'm watching the Lions play
Yeah.
normally. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so in any case, we just have to wait and see if Aguilar's play translates to the SEC, and we'll talk a lot more about Tennessee versus Georgia next week. Obviously, another big debut this week was Mike Keefe, the voice of the Vols, and oh my God, Gus, I just couldn't stop smiling listening to Mike Keefe call the game and the highlights, the sack, and honestly, I'll say this: you can tell that Mike Keefe is heavily inspired by John Ward. His cadence is very similar. And I feel like he's calling these games a little differently than he did with the Titans. Is it just me, Gus? There's a
No,
difference.
I think the big difference of all you can tell is that since he had all the history, being UT alum, you know, had work, in UT radio. I think he called games at WTK, right? And if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken. So since he had all this history, it felt like coming back home. And when you had that feeling, especially in the beginning, you are inspired. You are like ready to go. Like, of course, the Tennessee Titans have, a history, very loyal fans, and
He was there when they started, basically.
yeah, yeah. But it's not the same as, how can I say this? Like, your college love always going to be different than a college love is always different than a pro love. It hits different, and you can tell he was, watching the marching band. He looks like he even want to go deeper into his role. Like, I saw he's doing a bunch of different show there. There weren't before. I feel like he is just want to make the best out of it, and he kill it. He nailed it on Saturday. I saw on Facebook some people say he didn't said the famous line, and I want to check in, but he did say it's football time in Tennessee.
He did say that. Now, I guess some people are wondering why did he not say give him 6? But like that's
a John Ward. Like, it's one thing to say a line that everybody says it. It's another thing to get here we say a jargon, a kind of catchy phrase that every broadcaster has, and you as a broadcaster you don't like to copy or use someone else's catchy phrase.
Right. I mean, like the sack. I mean, that's his sketch.
That's his. That's his.
Right. And of course, he's going to come up more. And of course, he was like experimenting with the touchdown Tennessee, or like touchdown.
Did he do that? Did he do that? Touchdown Tennessee, because I love when he did the touchdown Titans.
Yeah, and you can tell he's also trying not to say Titans as well, because he's used to saying Titans.
Yeah, it's automatic. Like, you have to, like, because one thing to prepare and all that stuff is another thing when game does happen and you have to rewire the things you used to do in another team to a new team.
Right. Yeah, but Mike Keefe and honestly the rest of the Vol Network broadcast was very, very good. Looking forward to listening to more of them throughout the year. So my big takeaway after talking a lot about offense, I feel like we didn't really. I need to circle back around to some defense real quick. Injuries are going to be big there. We need to be healthy because I still think this defense could be pretty good. I don't know if they'll be as good as they were last year, but if we can get back to full strength at some point, and it may not be until midseason until we do so, But thankfully, if you look at our first half schedule, right? Of course, you got ETSU this week, but you got Georgia, massive game. But outside of Georgia, you got UAB the week after, who almost lost to an FCS team. You've got Georgia State, or not Georgia State, Mississippi. Thank God we don't have Georgia State. Mississippi State, and you got Arkansas before Alabama. So, like, we should have it's very navigable, even without some of these guys. So we'll just have to wait and see what the injury situation becomes over the next couple of weeks. So right now, have your expectations for the season changed at all? For me, I'm still sticking to about 8-4 for this team, just because it seems to me the injuries are not in our favor at the moment. But part of me wants to go higher, considering how some of our future opponents looked this past weekend. But I don't want to overact to 1 week in college football.
I would say, yeah, like it's 9-3 isn't crazy, you know.
Like, it's definitely not crazy. I just, let me see how they look next week against Georgia.
Yeah, that's
like,
the game.
They come out and are close to Georgia or even beat them, then we'll talking about playoffs. I'm not there yet. I saw some people this weekend being like, I think Tennessee looks like a playoff team. Let's see them next week. Although I do think we upgraded a quarterback. I think our rushing game looks very good, although we don't have a single true run. Like, I don't think any of our running backs are as good as Dylan Sampson was last year. Them collectively are just as good. I think our line might be better. I think our receivers might be better. But the big question is, how much has our defense regressed, and how much of it is due to talent loss versus injuries?
Yeah. And of course, there's still the ETSU game, which is kind of like an interesting game to me. You know, I've been to their campus many times, but I haven't been to a football game. Only baseball games, actually.
I do have a question.
Oh.
So we have Cbram69 asking, he just puts in all caps, James Cook versus Hubbard. So are we talking like fantasy? If we're going fantasy, I would take Cook over Hubbard. I mean, granted, Hubbard, I think, is ascending as well, while Cook maybe is at a year or two more before he starts descending. But if you're just in a one-off year, I trust Cook on a better team versus Hubbard. Anyway, Gus.
No, just to finish up my thought, like, I was just saying that I know that ETSU fans really tend to enjoy those kind of matchups with Tennessee. I've been to 2 games when they, baseball programs met with each other, but definitely, it's probably going to be like better than 2018, because the last time they played each other was 2018, right?
Right. And it was a 59-3 win. Also, Cbram69 says, thank you for watching the live stream tonight. Yeah, so it was a 59-3 result. I don't really remember that much about that game.
Well, still in the Jeremy Pruitt era.
God. Brutal times. I've erased a lot of that from my mind. I know it was a hot game. I know there was a lightning delay in the middle of it for no reason. It didn't rain in Knoxville, but I think there was one random stray storm that like bogged down everything. It wasn't a fun time. I'm not going to Knoxville for this one. I'll be watching from the comfort of my home.
Yeah.
And which I think is probably the right call, because the lowest tickets here are $78 for ETSU. I mean, no disrespect to ETSU. They've been actually a really competitive program in the SoCon the past couple of years. They could win. They could win, but or at least they could win big in the SoCon. Could make the FCS playoffs. But man,
yeah, it's not worth the drive and the tickets. Yeah, I thought about going. Not gonna lie, being here in America, go to a Tennessee football game. The last time I was in Neyland Stadium for a game was against Alabama in the COVID season. So definitely it wasn't, the environment it is right now. But I also had the same thought. But I'll be in a football game, and definitely it's going to be an exciting game down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But obviously, I think the Vols, I mean, I don't think there's any question the Vols should roll here. The question is, the big thing is don't play the starters as little as possible, get them out, and let's see some backups play. I'm curious to see what George McIntyre looks like. So that's the type of stuff I'm interested in seeing. But in any case, guys, you mentioned that you're going to LSU. They're playing Louisiana Tech this week, and they're coming off of a massive win in Death Valley, the other Death Valley, in Clemson, where the Clemson tried to pet their magical pet rock, and it didn't work. LSU lost 17-10, and frankly, the game wasn't that close. LSU should have won by way more. Brian Kelly kept Clemson in this game due to his idiocy, but even Brian Kelly couldn't cost LSU this game. Guys, kind of just how impressive is LSU? They just surged up to free. And I wonder if there's a little bit of an overreaction here because I don't think Clemson is as good as people thought they were. Like they have no run game. I think Clay Klubnik is not as good as people seem to think he is. But I mean, LSU, on the road at night to Clemson, that's an impressive win. I will give them that.
Especially after everybody's question, can Brian Kelly win a season opener? Because he was 0-4, coming off in, opening games and going to a tough environment on the road. Wasn't a neutral site, was at Clemson. And definitely it was a win that made LSU fans more excited because when I bought the tickets for the LSU Louisiana Tech game, there were pretty much availability, but I just saw it's a sold out game. So definitely that game changed the mood of LSU fans for this season.
Right, because if they had lost that game, I think you would have heard a lot of murmurs from LSU fans that they want Kelly to go. I think that's what you would have heard. But like winning that game, obviously massive for Kelly, and it sets them up nicely because obviously they got Louisiana Tech this week, and then next week the Gators come to town for a night game in Death Valley. It's going to be massive for Clemson. I think to me this just reiterates that their ceiling is the ACC championship. Like they can win the ACC, but they aren't going to do anything in the playoffs once they get there, unless you just get a super favorable matchup in the first round that you can win. They aren't getting past like the quarterfinals in the playoffs. Like Clemson, I don't think has any shot of a national championship. Klubnik's not good enough. The receivers aren't good enough. The running backs aren't good enough. Like that offense is absolutely sorry, and it feels antiquated.
Yeah, I was gonna use another word, but that word antiquated. Probably what Clemson fans feels like. That program stagnated. They were ranked number 4, but it didn't feel like they were the 4th best team in college football. And reality came faster. So what is funny is that everybody on Clemson is thinking it's time for Dabo Swinney to go because each season that he's coming is more question marks and more uncertainty about is he the right coach, and also is he up to date with this new reality that it is college football with NIL and transfer portal.
Right. I mean, Clemson has free transfer portal players on their team, just free. Now, granted, it's 3 more than they used to have.
Yeah.
But still, it's not enough for, I think, Clemson to truly be competitive. And I don't think that Dabo Swinney wants to really play that game. There's a Clemson fan who was featured on Message Board Geniuses who was like, we are the best true college football team because most of our team are actual recruits, not transfers. And I'm just like, okay, who cares? You are 0-4 in the last calendar year against the SEC. They lost to Georgia, South Carolina, and Texas last year, lost to LSU last weekend. And Gus, you want to hear a crazy stat? They've in those 4 games, they have faced 53 third downs. They've only converted 17 of them.
Then it's about, it's the best true college football team. Yeah, so if they had this roster, or they had that, you know, um,
10 years ago.
10 years ago, if this was the reality 10 years ago, it worked, and it really did. 10 years ago, Clemson was the program in college football, kind of, battling out with Alabama and Ohio State and LSU, being almost automatic presence in the college football playoffs. But things changed in the past 10 years, really did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny. College football feels one before COVID and another after COVID. I feel like college football is the sport that it wasn't because of COVID, but felt that COVID was the line between the old era and the new era.
I mean, let's be real. It's saved Tennessee. Let's be real. Because in the old world, we were not doing well at all. But like the new world has given us a chance to come back and be competitive again. Which is
I feel like it made Tennessee, well,
again, plus having that combined with Heupel, it gave us a jail out of free card, get out of free card.
No, yeah. I was the recuperation, it made Tennessee better, faster. I feel like Tennessee eventually was going to be good, but if it was the old days, it would have taken 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons to be in the college football playoffs or even be at number 1 ranked. Tennessee did that faster, but in terms of old and new college football, Clemson is definitely outdated.
Yes, very, very outdated. I'll tell you what isn't outdated, Gus. Catholics versus convicts. Miami, Notre Dame. That was a really, really hard-hitting game on Sunday night. I mean, that felt like the type of game that if they played 10 times, both teams would win 5. But on this night, Miami got the best of them, and you got to give them credit. Mario Cristobal, it felt like try to lose the game. Miami, they were trying to lose the game, but Carson Beck led a game-winning drive. They were able to hit the field goal, and Notre Dame struggled to throw the football. And that was the biggest difference here. Like Notre Dame just cannot find a quarterback consistently that can throw the football. Now, Riley Leonard last year was so efficient at running the ball, combined with just a great running game and a defense. They were able to ride that all the way to a national title. But you saw what happened when they played Ohio State. They just didn't have enough to win in that national championship game. And it proved again that they weren't able to beat Miami here.
First of all, Miami Notre Dame has to be a yearly matchup. 1 year in Miami Gardens, another year in Notre Dame, in Indiana. But it's so funny, like that rivalry starts in the late 80s, and they haven't been both good at the same time since those days. But it was a rivalry that kept, look at the crowd at Hard Rock Stadium. Normally University of Miami has problems, filling up those seats, and they show up with 70,000 fans, so yes. People really did enjoy that rivalry. It was, that of course is not as it was in the past, but there's still a little bit of a antagonism between a very deep tradition religious university versus a university that is kind of embodied in this free mentality, kind of the swag of Miami. It's totally opposite, and that's what makes the rivalry great, and that's why fans love it. And on the field itself, probably Notre Dame had a better coach, but Miami have better talent, and that what decide the game.
Oh, 100%. I think for Mario Cristobal, this is his biggest one at Miami. I think. I think it's by far his biggest one in Miami, and it's massive, right? Because he had two big non-con games at home. You had Notre Dame and you had Florida here in a couple of weeks. You've already got Notre Dame, so even if you drop Florida, you're going to be okay. You can still make the playoffs even as an at-large team from the ACC. If you play with Florida, then you've really got a lot of cushion to play with. So winning this game is massive for them. For Notre Dame, you know, they still made it in last year at 11-1, even with a loss to Northern Illinois. So a loss to Miami clearly is not disqualifying at all. And they've got several opportunities for wins against teams like Texas A&M coming up next weekend. They do play Boise State, who does not look very good this year. They go to Arkansas, who probably will not be ranked. USC TBD to see how good they are. So they probably need to beat Texas A&M next week to really give themselves a good boost.
Yeah, and Miami has a really, really tough schedule. I mean, we talked about uh, Florida, but they play Notre Dame, then have to face Florida, Florida State.
South Florida as well.
Yeah, which is a promising team. You know, Alex Golish looks like he's doing a good job. So it's kind of like it's three consecutive. At least they don't have to travel that far. You know, it's a in-state game. So, uh, but yeah, I mean, Miami feels like if they don't butcher those like games, for example, a game they really have to be careful though, and maybe I'm crazy. Louisville, because Louisville or Syracuse feels like those kind of games that Mario Cristobal loves to butcher.
100%. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. Can we trust Miami to go through a whole season without screwing up one of those games? Like when they go to Virginia Tech in November and it's cold and it's anything but like it is in Miami, can they not screw it up? You know, that's the type of games they can't lose. So we'll see what Miami does. But hey, great start to the season for the Hurricanes for sure. Also, in terms of another team that had a great start to the year, Ohio State, the defending national champions, beating Texas 14-7. I did not see this being this low scoring at all. And clearly the storyline here was Arch Manning looked horrible in this game. He didn't even reach 100 yards passing until the fourth quarter. And Gus, is it panic time for Arch in this game? Or is it just he was on the road against a top 5 defense? You know, what do you think?
You said it yourself. I mean, it was a tough matchup to be in. And first of all, when you are preseason ranked number one, that is as useful as being having barbecue meat before being cooked. There's no use. I mean, the being number one is good after December 1st, not in on August 31st. But nevertheless, of course, puts a little bit chip on your shoulder being the number one ranked, and also being a quarterback everybody's been watching and been expecting. So definitely puts even more pressure on you. And be on a tough environment. It was an emotional game in terms of, you know, we talked about last week. The last game, Lee Corso is going to be for college game day, and you know, and when he put that hat, that O hat, meant a lot for fans, and that gave even more roar for fans. So I kind of want to see him next week, which is
San Jose State. They play this week. So, like, Texas doesn't play an actual good team again until October 4th when they go to Florida.
Yeah, they have Florida and then Oklahoma. That's the kind of rivalry game people tend to really look, the Red River Showdown.
100%. Like that. That's when we're going to see how good Arch Manning actually is. Ohio State, you know, They look like they could go back to back. Now, their offense is going to have to, I think, improve a lot throughout the year, and I think they will. Jeremiah Smith really didn't do much of anything in this game. And I think partially as a shout out to Texas's defense. Like, Texas's defense is legit. And basically, this could be a case of which offense develops more throughout this season between Ohio State and Texas. Like, which one of these options has the most potential? When you look at Julian Sayin with Jeremiah Smith over at Ohio State versus, Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo over at Texas. I mean, I think because this is very well a game that we could see again here in 4 months in January. And it has the feelings of like we could see this game again. So both teams clearly are top 5 teams, at least should be considered that early on. There's a heavyweight match to start the season, which, hey, that's what we want to see. We want to see heavyweight matchups to begin the season.
Yeah, and it was more focus on the defensive side because even though Archie Manning did not had a good game, I think it was a really close game until the end.
Right.
So
I think the best player in college football is Caleb Downs, the safety for Ohio State. He won't win the Heisman, but I think he's the best player in college football. I think the performance that he had on Saturday, the way that Matt Patricia, the new defensive coordinator for Ohio State, used him in that defense. Like, he's the most versatile defensive player in the country. And there's no player that is as impactful on a game than Caleb Downs.
Yeah, definitely. And, it and that shows it all. Like when one of the players that really stood out to you as a safety shows that the defensive side really outplayed the offensive because Julian Sayin also had a okay-ish game. 1 touchdown, 126 yards, 13 completions for 20 attempts, almost the same numbers of Archie Manning.
Right, like the note was lining it up. But Caleb Downs, I think, also should be the number 1 draft pick next year as well. So that's also, besides that, he's just the best player. And, obviously he's at Ohio State now. He came to them before last season by way of the next team we got to talk about, Gus, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And so I came on the show last week and I said I thought there was no way Florida State could hang with them. I thought Bama was going to roll. This truly shocked me. What I saw from Alabama on Saturday was stunning. It is probably the worst performance I have ever seen an Alabama team have. And I've been watching since 2006. That was embarrassing. I mean, Thomas Castellanos called them out 2 months ago and said they don't have Saban anymore. They aren't beating me. And he came out and did it. And then some. Yeah, 31-17, it was the final, and the game wasn't even that close. And Gus, what is alarming to me about Alabama? They look soft and they look slow. They got pushed around the lines of scrimmage. Like that last touchdown Florida State had, that running back got hit at the 5-yard line, and he pushed his way through to the end zone. You had an instance of, it was in the first half, someone was running down the sideline for Florida State, and he was outrunning the defenders from Alabama. And I'm like, I've never seen that before when it comes to Alabama. They looked slow. There were instances where players looked like they openly quit on plays. It's mind-boggling. The Bama used to be the standard. Like, people used to chant, "We want Bama," whenever they won a big game, because people knew that Alabama was the standard in college football. They're now the laughingstock. people are laughing at Alabama. Like, this is just, it's mind-boggling to watch, and it feels foreign. And part of me, obviously, the vast majority of me loves what I'm seeing. But part of me feels uncomfortable. Like, is this really happening? Is the dynasty actually dead?
I mean, I feel like the dynasty, as we know, it's dead, and it's gonna reborn. I don't know if this year or next year. Gunnar de Boer is proven to be a really good football coach. It's just different to coach in the West Coast, down in Washington State, down in Washington, compared to Tuscaloosa, because it's one thing to be college football program in a city where you have an NFL team. It's not what the the community there focus. For Tuscaloosa, for the state of Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide football team means a lot. So they're definitely feeling the pain. I heard those calls, but let's not forget when Nick Saban took over, those same fans were calling him to be fired, especially after losing to Louisiana Monroe. So I'll say this: calm down. I mean, um, I don't want to compare coaches, but those same Bama fans who misses and Nick Saban, they want him out.
Well, okay. So, like, for example, right? There's several players right there taking a lot of heat. One of those is Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams had numerous drops in this game, and people have been, obviously there's a lot of personal shots people are taking him, right? With the whole painted nails stuff that happening off the field, him walking into the stadium with a stuffed T-Rex doll. That's the type of stuff that just wouldn't have happened under Nick Saban. With some of those old, like when you looked at Alabama players in the past, like they were huge, they were terrifying. Look at Derrick Henry when he was on Alabama. That was a guy you didn't mess with. That was a guy that put the fear of God into you. Like growing up, when I looked at Alabama, I'm like, all right, it's a loss. This is Alabama. We can't beat Alabama.
And it's so funny. For example, Tennessee now is going to go to Tuscaloosa, and they haven't won there in a long, long time.
22 years.
22 years. But is it going to feel different, though, that this time, is not those Alabama teams?
Yeah. Like, this is the first time truly where we have a chance. Like, we actually legitimately have a chance to win in Alabama. Now, I'm not saying we're going to. We'll see how these teams evolve throughout the year. We have a chance. Like, this Alabama team just looks baby paper towel soft. For example, AJ McCarron had this to say. He said, quote, on Ryan Williams, and he said this in a podcast, that's some of the worst route running I've ever seen in my life. Ever. He was non-existent in this game. He plays way too high in the slot. He doesn't look any bigger. He doesn't look any stronger. He doesn't look any faster. He runs way too high for a slot receiver. He was getting beloved in this game. Basically saying that he was getting beat one-on-one by the Florida State receivers. Additionally, you had a former player in Michigan say that he feels like he's finally in peak condition because they, quote, run a lot more in Michigan than in Alabama. Like, Kalen DeBoer 2 years ago took the Washington Huskies to the national championship game. You're right, guys. We know he can coach football. But the point stands in Alabama's last 10 games. Since they upset Georgia last year in Tuscaloosa, they're 5-5. 4 of those losses to non-conference teams, to Vanderbilt, to Oklahoma, to Michigan in the bowl game, and now what we just saw here to Florida State. Of course, also losing at Tennessee. And all those losses coming away from Tuscaloosa. The only road game that Bama has won in that time was at LSU, which in retrospect, that looks like a really weird result. Like, how did Bama show up for Death Valley and not any of those other games? Um, like,
Yeah,
this makes no sense.
yeah. I think Ellenberg this is still struggling to uh, get a team an identity. Like Nick Saban did that fast, you know. By year two, Bama had an identity, you know. So that's I feel like something that former players and fans are really, really uh, uh, mad with Calendar Board. This team does not have an identity yet,
Right.
and
Yep.
of course, when Nick Saban took over, the program wasn't at, as you point out, the standard. It wasn't the opposite of that.
Right.
It wasn't that stagnation era. That after Bryant retired.
Right. And Bama fans, Bama alums, Bama players, they talk a lot about the Bama standard. That there are other college football programs, and then there's Alabama. For example, today in a press conference, DeBoer said, "quote We are really upset about the game and outcome on Saturday." Okay, what would Nick Saban say in this situation? And obviously that's unfair to DeBoer, right? Because whoever was going to replace Saban isn't going to be Saban. And it's unfair to expect the next guy to be Saban. And I've been talking to some Alabama alums fans, and they don't want to. At least the ones that are closer to me are like, okay, let's not get rid of DeBoer right now because I don't want to become Auburn, what they've been the past few years. I don't want to become what Tennessee was, and revolving through coaches. Just because we're going through a rough town period. And I will say this: there is a part of me that wonders if Alabama could be this year's Notre Dame, where you suffer an extremely embarrassing loss early, but then bounce back.
And also, I think this and something also I saw online and is a reminder that another sign of this new era of college football is that the athletic departments are going to have to be more patient with coaches because they cannot afford to spend money on buyouts like they used to, because in the past they could spend money on buyouts because finding a new coach means better recruits and more money to boosters and more wins and more championships, and you would recover that money. With the NIL era, you don't have the luxury to spend money on a buyout. You don't necessarily have to, and that money, you could have spent on a player or two.
Yeah, man, it's an excellent point. Right now, DeBoer's buyout is $70 million. So he's not getting fired. Now, I think a coordinator change is in order. I think Kane Womack probably should be let go as a DC. I know there's some Bama fans who want Mr. Jerome Pruitt back as DC, but they can't because he has a show cause penalty right now. Granted, I do think the NCAA will fall apart anyway. So whenever that happens, guys, you can go out and get Jerome Pruitt and save him from the doldrums of the Rainsville Middle School gymnasium. I'm sure he is absolutely begging to go back to Alabama. I would welcome him to go back to Alabama. I want to see that bald-headed nincompoop back on the sidelines because I want some revenge.
Oh no, yeah. Hopefully, maybe next year, because it'd be really funny if the when he comes back, the Tennessee Alabama game is in Neyland Stadium. Imagine, how Tennessee fans would have welcomed him.
I mean, honestly, like I don't even think it would be a Kiffin reaction. I just don't think we would care that much. Like,
Yeah,
we would boo him, but like it's not like Lane Kiffin.
yeah. Lane Kiffin betrayed. That's different between you do some shady things and being fired. Compared to the way Lane Kiffin, like I still feel like one of the weirdest, most betrayals in college football history. I wasn't in Knoxville. During that time, I didn't even know college football exists because I was just a Brazilian teenager that only knew about soccer. But from what I see, going to the room with the press, leaving in the middle of the night on a Sunday.
Yeah, it was weird. An 11-year-old me was not happy about it at all. Yeah, but we haven't talked a lot about Florida State here. And we got to give credit to Florida State, right? Like the last 2 years. And what's ironic here is they were kicked out of the playoffs 2 years ago by Alabama. So this is a revenge game of sorts for them to get to beat Alabama head to head. But then after that game, right, they've been 2-11 since then. You had the 63-3 debacle in the Orange Bowl, and then 2-10 last year. But to come back and win this game, and one of the main reasons why I wasn't high on Florida State was they've got 40 transfers. I don't believe you can win like that. Well, they proved me wrong. And shout out to Thomas Castellanos. It is a big deal to come out and have the stones to be like, hey, we're going to beat these guys. I don't care. We're multi-touchdown underdogs. We're coming out and beating these guys. And they did. That is confidence I wish to have, sir. To you. And like Gus Malzahn, too. Auburn looks dumber and dumber by the day. They fired this man. He's 6-7 all time as an OC or a head coach against Alabama. I mean, that's as good as you're going to get. I mean, outside of Josh Heupel, who's 2-2, but hey,
and multiple wins in high Nick Saban era. It wasn't like they beat Saban in 07 or in 2013 or 14. Like it beat in. Of course, they beat in 13, but that's why he was out of the playoffs that year. Like they beat Saban when he was on the top. Like even they beat in 2019 where they had two. It was on the top.
Yes. So for Florida State now, what are their expectations now? Do we think they can win the ACC? Because to me, it seems like that in theory they could be as good as Clemson. I don't know if they're better than Miami. They're in a month from now. Miami has to go to Tallahassee, and that game should be a wild environment. Because we know Miami, Florida State is a great rivalry match. And now that Florida State actually is competitive, and Miami looks like they're going to be a really, really good team this year, that one's going to be a fun atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. And it's an in-state rivalry of two schools that had a lot of success in the 90s, but kind of did some ups and downs in the last few years, but it's gonna change. It's gonna set the tone. If Florida State wins that game, then it's truly a contender.
Right, and think about this: this is the first time since 2006 preseason that all three of the major Florida teams are in the top 15, including the Gators, and of course, the Gators have to play both Miami and Florida State this year as well. So you have to wonder if any of those Florida teams go 2-0 against the other two teams. Do they? Does that mean that team's virtually locked into the playoffs? And also, shout out to your one jaw once again on the TikTok. He asked score predictions for the Eagles-Cowboys game tomorrow.
Oh, we're gonna hit that soon on the NFL side, but appreciate it. But you talk about and Florida State before facing Miami, they're gonna play 3 really winnable games. Definitely 2. It's a must win. East Texas A&M, Kent State, then the first ACC game against Virginia.
Yeah, on the road on a Friday night, which I think is prime upset territory.
Yes.
But Florida State looks way better than they did. Granted, Virginia blew out Coastal Carolina the other night, which that was impressive as well. All right. Another guy that did not look good on Saturday night, and this one gave me great pleasure, guys. Nico, I am a bustia. Just absolutely just horrible. Like, Virginia lost 43-10. Nico was 11 of 22, 136 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. His interception, Gus, was awful. It was an attempted screen, just threw it right into the teeth of the defense. And now you have UNLV players coming out in their press conferences this weekend saying, Nico ain't nothing special. And especially considering that Joey Aguilar came out and had a very clean performance in week 1. I think week 1 was a disaster for Nico. Like, it couldn't have gone any worse.
Yeah, definitely for everybody's going to compare both of those quarterbacks, and Tennessee fans were going to take pleasure on every sack, on every mistake, especially when he had that interception, because the way he betrayed and the way he left the program.
Oh, 100%. And he doesn't even look like an NFL prospect at this point. Like, he looks horrible. He's still overthrowing guys. All the problems we saw in Tennessee, but you no longer have Josh Heupel to help mask those problems as much as possible. And now he's completely exposed. So, good job, Nico. Great job, Nico's dad. You guys are the biggest dummies of the year. Enjoy not making a bowl game in front of no one.
And in sports, when you always try to get a little bit more in short term, and you ended up screwing the long term.
Yes. He should have stayed at Tennessee. But I'm glad he didn't. I think we now have more of a team player. Someone else that also had an awful debut, Bill Belichick in North Carolina on Labor Day night. This was horrible, Gus. A 48-14. Gio Lopez, the transfer from South Alabama, went over 2 hours in real time without a completed pass. That's how bad this game was. Is it just TCU being really good? And I think TCU does have a chance to be a dark horse in the Big 12. I do think they are really good. But I really think there's more of an indictment on just how bad North Carolina is. And your one, Josh, says, don't get me started on old Bill Belichick. Yeah. I said when this hire happened, I didn't think it was going to work. And I know you have to give a guy more than one game. And I saw, like, a North Carolina fan on Master Sport Geniuses one again, being like, I wonder if Bill Belichick just treated this as a preseason game. I mean, we're actually going to see the real team show up against Clemson, which doesn't make any sense, but hey.
Yeah, I don't think he would be that naive to be like, oh, week 1 is no. He knows that in college football, there's no preseason games. It's just the first game counts as much as the last regular season game.
Ooh, okay. So also shout out to Chip here in the comment section. He says, rate my 10-man roster. He has Barkley, Genty, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Brock Bowers, Hampton, Kyler Murray. I love that team, especially if Kyler Murray hits this year, given his rushing ability. I think obviously you have a ton of really good running backs there. You may honestly want to look at maybe trading one of those running backs for a receiver at some point, because I feel it feels like Moore and Pickens are probably both WR2s, but otherwise, you have the best tight end. You have an absolute monster triple head at running back. A solid team there. Also, your one, Josh, says, how do you get blown up by TCU? I mean, TCU, they're a good team, right? Like, I think they are a good team. Josh Hoover is a really good quarterback. He's a furry, but he's a good quarterback. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, Gus, that that's something that happened in the offseason. Not really too relevant, but hey, that's something that happened. But for Belichick, the off-the-field distractions are just – I think they're going to be too much for him, right? Like, you have his significantly younger girlfriend hanging out with him on the sideline and trying to talk to him during the game. Like that, if I were a UNC alum, a UNC fan, that kind of stuff when we're down 48-14 would drive me up a wall. Because why are you turning my school into a circus? And that's what it feels like is happening here with Belichick and this Jordan Huston or Houston, whatever her name is. Like, it feels like a circus more so than an actual legitimate football program.
I mean, of course, whenever there weren't success on the on the field, everybody was gonna call out that. I think Bill Belichick is still a good football coach. The big question is he a good college football coach, and especially how the game has changed, and I'll at least give maybe 2 seasons. I'll be more patient.
I don't think Belichick even sticks around for that long, to be honest with you. I could see him walking after this year for not having enough fun. Like I just don't think he's gonna like college football.
He doesn't look excited, to be there. He kind of look, the face like, okay, he looks like the kind of person who settles. It's like, nobody wants me anymore. I'll guess I'll stay with you. That's how he's treated North Carolina. It's like, okay, I appreciate you give me an opportunity, but I'm not, because of course he missed the kind of NFL side of it, because he wasn't like an exciting head football coach like college normally has. It was a more like X and O's, and more like trying to find those players who buy into his culture. Definitely one of them was Tom Brady, and
and some people are trying to use it as another example of Tom Brady in the Tom Brady versus Belichick argument, which I mean, I don't think you can use one college game to further your sides in that argument. But the thing is, right, like that type of attitude, the crowd was really good today, but we didn't play well. Like that's not going to work in college. You can do that type of stuff in New England. You can't do that type of stuff at UNC or in college football. Ewan Jaws says, I don't think UNC is going anywhere this season. I agree. I picked them to go 6-6 in the offseason, and that seems frankly optimistic. Like for them to barely get to a bowl game. So yeah, just a rough night for the Tar Heels, Gus.
Yeah, I mean they gotta win against an in-state, and it's gonna be on the road. Actually, the North Carolina Tar Heels are going to Charlotte to play the 49ers.
Man, that's gonna be an ugly game.
Hopefully Bill Belichick knows it's the Charlotte 49ers, not San Francisco 49ers.
Or the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so quickly, any other games that stood out to you, Gus, from this past week? Went over a lot of the big ones. One that comes off to mind here, just here in the state of Tennessee, shout out to Austin Peay, upsetting MTSU in Murfreesboro. Derek Mason, man, he's not doing well in Murfreesboro with MTSU. Just quite embarrassing, frankly.
Yeah, definitely an FCS team beats FBS team, and it was the first time Austin Peay wins over an FBS team since 1987. So yeah, that's impressive. Also, your Chattanooga Mocs did not have a good opener. I mean, you kind of expected that against the Memphis Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they would at least cover the spread, but that did not happen. Also, Shane Beamer in South Carolina won over Virginia Tech, but I don't think they looked great doing it. I thought their offense was lethargic. And if their offense doesn't improve, especially their passing attack, I mean, they have Lenore Sellers, who's really good. They're not going to get to where they want to go.
Oh, another game that it was made headlines for, not for the game itself, but the jerseys, Tulane beating Northwestern 23 to 23-3.
Oh
But
yes, and
but
Northwestern is Bush League for that.
yeah, and it should have been. They deserve even more because of what they didn't allow Tulane to do.
Yeah, hey, and Jake Retzlaff obviously had the situation at BYU. I'm not sure if that situation was settled or not in BYU because the whole reason why he got kicked out of there because of some of the allegations against him. But he went to Tulane. He's playing there, playing pretty well. Preston Stone is an SMU transfer to Northwestern. He looks horrific,
But
just
but
awful.
but did you saw what happened with the jerseys?
Yes, yes. But basically, if you don't know what happened, is this past weekend was the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. So Tulane, being from New Orleans, wanted to honor those victims. Wearing all white uniforms, and Northwestern wouldn't let them. So I'm glad Northwestern got blown out.
Yeah, perfect. And I like what the coach said after the game. That they that made it even more inspired to beat. That's totally fair.
Also, Kansas State as well. They almost lost to North Dakota.
Yeah, they needed a last minute miracle almost.
Yes, and honestly, like this should make teams think twice about going to Ireland because we have seen 2 years in a row now the loser come back and just look horrible from there. So I mean, you got to be crazy to go play in Ireland in week 0.
Or when you go overseas, you gotta have, let's be honest, a cup game FCS team like
This was
Rob.
an FCS team, Gus. Against North Dakota.
No,
It's not
no,
even North Dakota State.
no, but now it's gonna be really deep into the FBS, like a Long Island, uh, or Robert Morris. Like,
Okay, that's fair enough. You got to make sure they're bad.
yeah, like Long Island University, for example, whom the Florida Gators beat, or Robert Morris, which was beat by West Virginia. Also, Kentucky. I know they won by double digit, but that fourth quarter, I don't know.
Well, that offense was putrid. They had 10 points heading into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And granted, that's not even close to the worst thing that's happened in Kentucky over the past couple of days, Gus. I'm not going to get into all that. Y'all could look that up in your own free time. Let's just say we've had several players that have gotten in trouble for various things. And unfortunately, cheerleaders also getting in trouble for various things.
Oh, even a senior student I saw.
Yeah, but killed her baby. Just
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
you have a running back who's in trouble for sexual assault, and just it's basically it's not good times in Lexington, Kentucky right now, to say the least. Okay, we're to the point now where we can talk about underrated games of the week, and I've got a couple here, guys, that are interesting that we're not going to pick, but obviously South Florida coming off that win last week over Boise, they go to 13th ranked Florida. This should be a much tougher game for Florida than Long Island. Should be a bit more of a challenge. Florida's a 17.5-point favorite there. You have a good old Southwestern Classic game, Baylor at 14 SMU. Of course, Baylor trying to avoid an 0-2 start after losing to Auburn. You also have Virginia and NC State. To me, these are two teams that desperately need a 2-0 start. And honestly, don't be surprised if the Cavaliers pull off that win and put Dave Dorn on the hot seat. And then Vandy at Virginia Tech. Of course, Vandy won this game last year. Virginia Tech's trying to avoid an 0-2 start. Both teams going into that game with massive implications. Gus, what do you think about these underrated games? And do you have another underrated game?
An underrated game is both undefeated Florida Gators versus South Florida. Alish Golish, against Florida, against the Gators. I will bet definitely the under. I don't think Florida is gonna win by 2 touchdowns.
And Now, Gus, my upset alert of the week, and honestly, I don't think there's a ton of them out there. It might be a little bit of a bold pick. Georgia State has a good history playing teams from Tennessee. Of course, they beat us in 2019, beat Vanderbilt last year. They host Memphis this week. Give me Georgia State to upset Memphis. They're 13.5-point dogs at home in Atlanta.
Oh my god. I might be bold, but we just talked about that. Do you know who Alabama Crimson Tide plays this weekend?
UL Monroe.
UL Monroe.
It's not happening. They're not losing to UL Monroe for a second time. There's no possible way.
That's going to be my upset alert. Give me UL Monroe. Imagine beating back-to-back, games in Tuscaloosa with two. Back then, Nick Saban was, a first-year head coach, and now beating Kellen DeBoer. I mean,
yeah, DeBoer would get ran out of the stadium. I'll tell you one result that I think would get the coach fired if it actually happens. You look in Arkansas. Arkansas and Arkansas State are playing for the first time ever this week. And, of course, our good friend Butch Jones is still coaching in Jonesboro for Arkansas State. This game is in Little Rock. If Sam Pittman and Arkansas somehow lose to Arkansas State, they're 23.5-point favorites. Sam Pittman's getting fired. I just know it.
Oh, yeah. You can't lose your little brother, to an in-state, not calling rivals because the first time ever meeting. But, still, though, it's a must-win, definitely, for the Razorbacks. And another team, how about Mississippi State? Can they upset our? I think they can upset.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this game here in a minute. Sure.
Also, before we talk about, I want to talk about one game that is not in the list, but before I talk about the game itself, why College Game Day is going to Norman, Oklahoma, for Oklahoma, Michigan, and not for the Kansas, Missouri game?
That is an excellent point. Kansas, Missouri, look at the banter online. I mean, you got fans planning on, like, how to fight each other. Of course, you're talking about, like, the Civil War, the border war from, like, the 1850s. I mean, Kansas, Missouri, like, these people hate each other with a passion. Like, I don't think people realize just how much Kansas and Missouri fans actually freaking hate each other. Like, and Jalen Daniels so far has looked amazing in his first two games against Wagner and Fresno State. Now, granted, those aren't two great games, but Kansas, to me, is a sleeper team this year. And Missouri, they've lost some talent. I think they're down. Granted, they won 61-3 over Central Arkansas. But Missouri, Kansas, this is a massive pressure spot for both of those teams. So let's get into it. And honestly, while we're on it, let's do.
But I want your opinion. So, do you think College Game Day chose the right game, Oklahoma, Michigan, or should they go to Kansas, Missouri?
I mean, Michigan, Oklahoma is the one top 25 game this week, and it's two big brands, right? Michigan, Oklahoma, those are big brands. So, like, I get why they chose, and they got two new quarterbacks. It should be a really good game. I get it. But, man, Kansas, Missouri is certainly a missed opportunity for a more passionate College Game Day.
It's just, yeah, but I think College Game Day is about environment and rivalry. And I think, in week, if this was on, let's say, week 11 or 12, and Michigan and Oklahoma are top ranked, and this was a must win for the playoffs, okay, I'll get it. But still week 2, I mean, I would rather be in an environment with fans that are, ready to, engage than I'm not saying Oklahoma fans are not going to show up. It's just, I think it's a missed opportunity.
It's fair enough.
It's just sad that the Big 12 doesn't have an SEC channel strong because, what, for example, when there's like a big rivalry game on the SEC that is, and the college game doesn't come up, the SEC nation show up and makes an environment. Big 12 doesn't have that.
Right. Well, in this game, where is SEC Nation this week? I'm assuming they're in Lexington, right, for Ole Miss and Kentucky. Oh no, SEC Nation is in Columbia for Missouri, Kansas.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, I forgot Missouri is on the SEC. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so SEC Nation will be in Missouri, guess.
Okay.
And Paul Feinbaum says he apparently had to beg the SEC staff to let him go to this game.
Oh.
So W Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, WSEC channel as well.
He said, quote, "You have no earthly idea how great this rivalry is." Which I agree with him with. I got to ask our chief meteorologist at News 12, Austin Onek. He is an alum of Kansas. Kansas.
Yeah, my one of my best friends is a KU alum, Italo Costa. I actually visited him in Lawrence 2 times, but both those times were in July, so there were any sports. Even though we watched the Kansas City Royals, but I visit Memorial Stadium, and it's a great campus.
Yeah, and honestly, like when you think about this game, like how much pressure on Lance Leipold and Eli Drinkwitz, right? Like, especially I feel like this game is way worse for Drinkwitz to lose than Leipold, because if Drinkwitz loses here at home to Kansas, I feel like that's gonna turn some Mizzou fans against him, because I don't feel like they were too pleased with last year's team. I felt like a lot of people think they underachieved. I just feel like there's going to be some grumbling if they lose at home to Kansas. So Drinkwitz would be well advised not to lose us at home. But Gus, I think Kansas is poised to be really good this year.
Give me KU.
Yep, give me the Jayhawks on the road.
Go Kansas.
Yeah, I think Kansas is going to get it done. Okay, so some other games here. We have 11 Illinois at Duke, a game that would normally get big headlines in basketball, but hey, Illinois has a lot of expectations heading into this game, and Duke, with Darian Mensah at quarterback, there's some expectations there too. So big game there in Durham. What do we think here? Illinois at Duke.
That's gonna be my upset alert. Give me Duke.
I agree. Give me Duke as well. So we're both going with upsets here to begin. I'm just not high on Illinois. I just don't particularly think they're as good as they're rated. And I think this game will expose it. Now, the game in Starkville, 12 Arizona State at Mississippi State. This game was only a touchdown difference last year in Arizona. And this, of course, before we realized that Arizona was really, really good. And I know they're preparing for all the cowbells. And for Mississippi State, this feels like your shot early on to inject some life. Because you got Arizona State right now. They've got Tennessee in a couple of weeks coming to Starkville. Those are 2 chances to maybe, jumpstart the Jeff Lebby era. Can Miss State pull this off at home?
Yes, they can. I think it's going to be a game that will kind of revitalize, because Mississippi State fans, they are still healing from, the passing of Mike Leach. So I think maybe winning a top 15 team at home maybe will give a new vibe.
Well, and that's sentimental as that is. I just think that Sam Levitt and these 2 NFL receivers, Jordan Tyson, they're going to be too much. And Miss State was only up by 3 at the half against Southern Miss. Granted, they pulled away and won, and they covered. I had bet against Mississippi State actually lost. So maybe that should be a lesson to me. But you know what? I'm going to continue to fade Miss State. I continue to think they're the worst team in the conference. Give me Arizona State to win in Starkville. Now, a battle for Iowa. The battle for was it the Cy Hawk Trophy? I think is what it's called. Iowa at 16, Iowa State. What do we think about this one?
Give me the Cyclones.
I agree. With Cyclones, this game's in Ames. Very low scoring game, I think, is on tap here. Although Iowa did look pretty good last week in their game. Well, at least they started off slow, but they were able to turn it on. But Iowa State won a classic there last year in Iowa. Expect to see something similar. All right, the game of the week here, the only top 25 matchup, 15 Michigan at 18 Oklahoma. Who needs this one more? Michigan coming off, a decent season, right? I mean, upset Ohio State at the end, but at least out.
No, go ahead, sorry.
And then Oklahoma coming off a disaster 6-7 in the campaign. But to me, it's obvious. I think Venables needs this one more. And I think the thing that's really exciting about this game is having two young quarterbacks here. You have Bryce Underwood versus John Mateer. And both of these quarterbacks have a lot of expectations upon them. I'm curious to see which one performs better.
Yeah, and Sharon Moore, it's going to be the last game before he has the 2-game suspension, weeks 3 and 4. So, and I watched a little bit of the Michigan New Mexico game, and in the red zone, New Mexico gave really troubling times for the Wolverines. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that Michigan really, show up and kill the game. But the game was competitive up until the third quarter. So I thought they look a little bit uninspired, but give me Michigan.
I'm going to take Oklahoma at home. I really think this offense for Oklahoma is different. Now, granted, rushing-wise, it didn't look great, but I think John Mateer is going to be the difference maker here. So give me OU. All right, yes. I can't believe we are here, but it is week 1 in the NFL. We have made it. And now it's time to pick some football games. So first, tomorrow night in Philadelphia, we have the Cowboys at the Eagles.
I mean, they're current Super Bowl champs. Probably, I feel like I'll bet the over. I think it's going to be a double-digit difference. Cowboys probably, they're still going to feel, they had the most tumultuous, confusing off-season. Micah Parsons' decision probably affected the locker room. As I said, give me the Eagles by double-digit. I'll bet the over.
Mm-hmm. I like the Eagles too, although I feel like the Cowboys might actually keep this thing closer just because it's week 1. I think Dak and CD will have something to prove on the offensive end, but at the end of the day, the Cowboys aren't going to have enough of a running game, and they're not going to have enough of a defense to win in Philadelphia. All right, Friday night, back home in Sao Paulo, the KC, the Chiefs versus the Chargers. First and foremost, Gus, how do you feel this iteration is going to go compared to last year between the Eagles and the
Packers?
Oh,
first and foremost, I'm happy my beloved Brazil and my city of São Paulo get to host an NFL game for the second year in a row. I saw that Neoquímica Arena, Corinthians Stadium, got a $2 million field investment to make the field better, because remember, there were some complaints about the quality of the field, especially for none other than LeBron James. So definitely the NFL had to step in, and Corinthians definitely got the best out of it, because they did that improvement while the FIFA Club World Cup was happening and no games were being played at Corinthians Stadium. So and the game is on YouTube, so it's going to be free It's not YouTube TV, it's the actual YouTube. And I hopefully Brazil is going to do like last year. It's going to be a really good game, and the crowd's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like last year because it's not like a novelty. Of course, I think it's going to be a packed crowd, and I hopefully it's going to be a good show.
Hey, I mean, Taylor Swift's fiance is playing in this game, so it's going to be packed.
Yeah,
in terms
that's
of
fair.
in terms of the actual game here, I think for the Chargers, this is a massive game for them, right? Because if you're gonna knock off the Chiefs and win the AFC West, you got to win the games like this, like to get to the top of that division. And you know what?
Yeah.
I really think with Justin Herbert, with his rushing attack, with Amarian Hampton now, I think with the defense, with a second year under Jim Harbaugh, I think the Chargers are ready to make a statement. Give me LA in week 1.
That's crazy. I wonder what Jim Harbaugh is gonna think about Sao Paulo. I wonder if he's gonna taste the milk with the steak. I wonder if we go to a restaurant order milk and steak. People are gonna look confused, but with the actual game, I think it's gonna be the Chargers are gonna make a statement. Jim Harbaugh year 2 probably has even a better culture, and and Justin Herbert, is make it or break it. So give me the Chargers.
I mean, I don't know, like, if it's make it or break it for Herbert, because, like, if it, like, how bad does Herbert have to be for the Chargers to be like, okay, we're done with him?
No, make it or break it in terms of we know he's good. Can he be like because Jim Harbaugh, he was a coach that elevate quarterbacks. Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick. He did wonders with. I mean, when both of those players, especially Kaepernick after Harbaugh left, were nearly as good. So, I mean, Justin Herbert was the reason that Harbaugh got the Chargers job. So, I'm saying that I expected that probably Harbaugh and the fans expect to see a better version of Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair. All right, to the early 1:00 slate. And also, as we're heading into Sunday, did you see that NFL Red Zone is no longer commercial free? Absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully, it's not like an absurd amount of commercials, but man, like,
or at least do like, okay, you put the sound and the main screen on the commercial itself, but at least make the side screens like games. Like it, don't put like 100% commercial image and sound.
yeah, that would be good. Like the side by side, like you see in NASCAR or in IndyCar.
Yeah,
Would be
and
perfect.
and also, I speaking of broadcasting side of it of the NFL, Globo, after forever, decided to step in and got the rights to the NFL. Like I never seen this day would have come in my life. I know it's hard to compare, but like Globo is the ABC of Brazil, is the standard, is the broadcasting TV channel of Brazil. And that media company like Globo, the Global TV, the Sport TV, the sports channel, never got interested in the NFL. Like never. They almost ignore it for the majority of the years. They thought but with the way that the NFL has been, the culture has been developed as good, they saw the time that it's now or never, and they stepped in. They're gonna broadcast a couple of games. I think 3 or 4 games. They're gonna have the Super Bowl this year, which is impressive. ESPN is not gonna have the Super Bowl in Brazil for the first time since 2010. That's massive. I mean, I never saw the day that ESPN wouldn't have the NFL complete package. They lost the Super Bowl this year. They lost the playoffs in the NFC. They're not gonna have practically all the games like they used to have, and now even the red zone. They used to have the red zone. Now it's the zone. So a lot of changes in terms of NFL being broadcast in Brazil.
very interesting, and I'm glad to hear that the product is continuing to grow.
Yeah, it's a sign that the NFL market is growing in Brazil. That the biggest media conglomerate said it's time for us to be a part of it.
Yes. Okay. But on Sunday, though, first game, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Big NFC South game here. What do we think?
I gotta be a homer. Give me the Buccaneers.
I'm going to take the Buccaneers as well. I think it'll be a very good game, but I mean, got to see if Michael Penix can finish off these type of games to see if he can kind of reverse the idea that the Falcons are just a choking franchise. That would be a pretty big deal. Okay. Also at 1 o'clock on Sunday, you have the Battle of Ohio, Cincinnati at Cleveland. I probably am going to say Cincinnati here by a lot. I think there's just a lot of problems with Baltimore.
Baltimore or Cleveland?
Oh, Cleveland. Yeah, Cincinnati at Cleveland.
Yeah. So are you betting? So you're betting the over because the spread is Cincinnati minus 5.5.
Yeah, which is big for NFL standards.
Yeah, especially be on the road. Give me the Bengals, but I'll bet the under.
Yes. All right. The next game here, we have the Dolphins at the Colts.
Give me Miami.
I'm going to take Miami too. It's good. I think our Colts friends are in for a rough one this season with the whole Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson debacle. And I think Chris Ballard and Stan Steichen could be on their way out after this year. So just a rough one. Rough situation for Indianapolis. The next game here, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Carolina is a team that could be ascending this year. I'm excited to see what Travis Hunter can do in this game, but I think Bryce Young took a big step in the second half of last year. Give me Carolina.
Give me Carolina.
The next game at 1 o'clock, you have the Las Vegas Raiders going across the country to take on Mike Vrabel in his debut with the New England Patriots. Mike, I wish we still had you in Nashville. And I think he's going to get it done in game 1 with Drake May. Give me the Patriots.
Give me New England, but I will bet the over. I think it's going to be a 3-game.
Yeah, man, I think it'll be a really good game. I mean, with Geno Smith now and Pete Carroll, but it'll be a good one. All right. Here's one. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, don't lose this game. Arizona at New Orleans. 1 p.m. I think Arizona should win. I think New Orleans is going to be the worst team in the league this year.
I think it's going to be a little bit of an emotional game. I mean, we just mentioned it's a 20-year anniversary of the Hurricane Katrina, this past weekend, and the Superdome was a big part of it. So give me the Saints because I think it's going to be an emotional game for, the city of New Orleans.
I could definitely see that for sure. And if that happens, this could be a disaster season for Arizona. Okay, we have the Aaron Rodgers Bowl here. Pittsburgh going to the New York Jets. I mean, Justin Fields also played for Pittsburgh as well for a little bit, so you kind of have a quarterback swap.
Yeah, so I guess it's not going to be like a X-Law.
Yes. I don't know what to think here. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh just because I know they have the better defense, but I have a feeling this one's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game to watch.
That was funny. I don't know why they put this game on week 1 because if it wasn't on like week 3 or week 5, this would definitely be a Thursday night game. I could definitely see this game being a Thursday night game, but
yeah. We're losing Gus there. He's kind of timing out, but that's a good point that he made on Pittsburgh versus the New York Jets being a Thursday night game. Of course, it is now midnight here, heading into September 4th. Nick Hill, as always, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. waiting on Gus to rejoin us from Nokomis, Florida, in the U.S. Gonna go through some of these other picks here. I got the Giants at the Commanders, an NFC East game in Week 1. All right, you're back, Gus.
So, give me the Jets.
Yep. All right. What do we think about the Giants at the Commanders? Of course, the Commanders coming off of a surprising NFC title appearance.
I'll give me Washington. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Washington as well. I don't think Russell Wilson will be enough to save the Giants.
Yeah.
Now, my Tennessee Titans heading into the afternoon slate, heading to the Denver Broncos. Look, I'm excited for Cam Ward. I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't think we're winning Week 1 here. Denver's going to be a very exciting team to watch this year. Brighter days will be ahead, but it won't be this one. Give me Denver.
Yeah, and it's also going to be the debut for the Titans.
For Cam Ward.
No, also lead broadcaster Taylor Zazor.
I'll be interested to see how he is. I'm not that familiar with him, so.
Yeah. Yes, because, I wonder, because we kind of, mentioned the Mike Keith side of it, step in for Bob Castling, but also how hard it's going to be for Taylor Zarzed to step in and replace a legend like Mike Keith.
That's a good point, right? And for the Titans, if everything is positive vibes wise in Knoxville, everything has been awful in terms of vibes in Nashville. I mean, you saw last year just how awful it was. I was so over the Titans last year. So I hope we can turn over a new chapter and get some more positive vibes going.
Yeah.
Titans. Even if they lose, I just want to see more competitive fire. And hey, I don't have to watch Will Levis play quarterback, so I'm happy about that. Okay, an NFC West showdown here. San Francisco at Seattle.
Give me the 49ers.
I agree. The 49ers. I think Seahawks are in a bit of rebuilding. I'm not convinced Sam Darnold's the answer in Seattle. I think the 49ers are healthy again. CMC will announce his return. Give me the Niners. All right. Big one in the NFC North.
Big one. Big.
Lions at the Packers. What do we think here? Week 1 Lambeau.
Give me Lions.
I'm going to take the Packers at home. I think Jordan Love and the Packers have something to prove. I think last year was underwhelming for them. I know they made the playoffs, but still, they weren't exactly great. I think they're going to take a step forward this year. Give me the Packers. The next one, we have the Texans at the Rams. This one's also a really good one as well.
Give me LA.
I agree. I think the Rams are a sneaky Super Bowl pick. I think I picked them to go to Super Bowl last week. If I'm not mistaken. So they're one of those teams. I think especially with the core they have, this is one of their last true opportunities with what they have built to win. Now, Sunday night, I'm excited for this one. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, rematch of the divisional round last year. Both of these teams want to be the one to knock off KC. Who gets off on the right start here?
Buffalo.
I agree. Buffalo at home. And plus, it's the regular season, so Buffalo can actually win this one. So, sorry, Bills fans. But hey, you got to erase the narrative. You got to erase the narrative. You can't do that in week 1. And then Monday night, we had the Vikings at the Bears.
Give me the Bears.
I've been leaning Bears too. And you know what? The more I think about it, give me the Vikings. I mean, I don't know why. Just it feels like Kevin O'Connell's going to show up and have JJ McCarthy look really, really good in his debut. And it's going to send Chicago fans into an absolute panic.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, otherwise, the only other thing I was going to bring up in American sports outside of the football stuff was NASCAR playoffs began this past weekend. Chase Briscoe won at Darlington. They raced at Gateway. So 9 races are remaining on the NASCAR schedule.
We want tonight. Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds good then. So if it...
What? I don't know what.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, the WhatsApp just started all of our messages. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, I'm listening to myself.
This is the Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports After Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, I don't know if there's really any MLB to really bring up. I know they're getting closer to the end of their season, but I've checked out with the Braves not being any good. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely competitive, race. I'm surprised with the Blue Jays. I mean, they are in the lead in the American League East. I thought they're going to have a mild season.
Right, of course, Philadelphia, they pulled away 5.5.
What?
I was just saying, just looking at some of these races, that you mentioned the Blue Jays, the Phillies now have a 5.5 lead, Milwaukee with a 6-game lead, and Dodgers and Padres still pretty close.
Yeah, and the Yankees had a good opportunity to close the gap with the Blue Jays, but they lost 8-7 to 9 against the Astros. They were leading the game for the majority of it, but lost, and so, and the Astros with that got a 4-game lead over the Mariners. But just to finish up the pod, in the Brazil side of things, it's FIFA break, so there's no Libertadores or Brazilian Cup. We had the week 22 of the Brazilian Championship. Flamengo still on the lead. They tied at home versus Grêmio. Palmeiras also tied on the road versus Corinthians. It seems like Palmeiras cannot beat Corinthians this year. They lost in the São Paulo State Championship final. They lost in the Brazilian Cup playoffs. And again, when they seemed like they had the better roster and it was gonna be in second place and really close to Flamengo, they tied at home on the road versus Corinthians. Shout out to Mirassol. I mean, what an impressive campaign. They're in 6th place, and do you know how many people live in the city of Mirassol?
That's like 30,000.
Yes. Yes. It's 30. Let me get the number right. But it's 65,000 people live in the city of Mirassol, and they're the 6th best team in Brazil.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's an impressive story. They beat Bahia, which was in 4th place, by 5-1. They are the best team on the first tier in the first division ever after 20 games. What a remarkable story. I mean, it caused envy here in Americana, which has a city 3 times that size and was traditional Rio Branco, and we're still years away from that. And it's crazy that 10 years ago, they were in the same level. Rio Branco and Mirassol. They were in the second division, the state. They had no division in terms of Brazilian leagues. And 10 years later, they are way apart.
Yeah, I mean, you just love seeing rags to riches stories like that. And maybe they can win the whole thing.
I mean, for me, they still need those 45 points. They are like, they need to first get the points to secure a year 2 in the first division. They, of course, are close to that. They just need 4 more wins, and they're completely out of the relegation battle. But, that's the first goal. After that, the sky is the limit. And they're and they would currently be on Libertadores. Which is funny is that if they go to Libertadores, that their stadium might be, don't have enough capacity, but like 30 minutes, like 20 miles away from Mirassol, which is São José do Rio Preto, the big city in the region, and they had a 45,000 people stadium that is practically unused these days because the team that owns it, América of São José do Rio Preto, they didn't even play professionally this year. They're in 5th division, but they chose to not play professionally. They're only playing their under 20 team. And so I wonder if Mirassol of all teams are going to have to play there professionally again. So that's an interesting story, but that's it. Brazil plays 2 games in the qualifying, but they're already in the World Cup. So what does it matter? Of course, Carlo Ancelotti are going to see some players. He chose not to, call Neymar, which is fair. It would have bring more noise than what he need, and he knows Neymar. If he's good, he's going to be called up. So I think like right now he just needs to see new players and try to see, what he needs, and the last stats for some players in order to be called for the World Cup next year.
Yeah, of course, that's coming ever so quicker. But it's football season, and once we get through this, then the World Cup will be firmly on our plates. But for Gus Tomazilli, I'm Nick Hill. Thank you so much for watching episode 196 of 2 Countries, 2 Americas, All Sports. Have a fantastic night.